Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a Borough Council meeting for Green Tree for Monday, February 12th, 2024. Before we get started, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for Cheryl Bacon. She passed away, I believe, last Thursday. Cheryl was a dedicated citizen to our borough for many years. She served the borough really well, doing a number of things. Most recently, she was the chair of the Planning Commission. I'd like to keep her and her family in our prayers. And we will hold a moment of silence before the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please. Kim.
Here.
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Romero?
Present.
Ms. Schwartz?
Here.
Mr. Perosi?
Present.
Mr. Tentori?
Present.
Mayor Shea?
Present. Thank you very much. Before we get started, I would just like to say that last Monday evening's meeting included criticism of former and current employees, which is unacceptable. Council is always happy to hear comments and even criticisms about a policy or an idea, but we do not debate employees at public meetings. Public can only give comments during public comment. That has been the policy for forever. Council comments should stay on topic, and the audience, please, must be respectful. I'd like to ask for the solicitor's comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to note, just as a follow-up, at last Monday's meeting, there were a number of questions raised as to the content of the contract that is the subject of tonight's meeting. And just to explain a little bit that when I am working as the solicitor, working with the borough manager and any contracts that come in front of the borough, that's kind of a work in progress where I get a draft. Sometimes it's from the contractor, and depending on what the contract's for, sometimes it starts with our office, and there's a lot of back and forth, usually legal representation on both sides. So just to assure everyone that there is a process, there is an attorney reviewing on behalf of the borough. This is a borough that's lucky to have a number of attorneys on as mayor and a council member as well. So there are a number of legal voices that will be heard before anything is approved. Also, I'm going to be, I'm usually pretty quiet at these meetings, but I will advise council when I think that, any personnel matters are coming up or the employees are being discussed, just because that can have legal ramifications for the borough, even though I know it can be frustrating because those feels like they should be public comment worthy matters, but I'm going to be the one to advise otherwise. So I just kind of want to put that out there as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, before we go, can I make a statement?
Not yet. I'd like to.
When would be a good opportunity?
Well, what would you like to say?
Okay, thanks. So first of all, Cheryl Bacon was Green Tree through and through.
Correct.
She was, she volunteered in this community for a number of years. She knew that code book better than anyone else. If you ever challenge her on the code book, she almost knew it verbatim, right, Chris? She's gonna be a huge loss, and it's sad that she's gone. I also wish to take a moment to address a concern that's been weighing on my mind recently. I sense that there is a perception among members of our council that I'm overly argumentative or prone to picking fights during our discussions. That's not my intent. Sometimes I say things I probably shouldn't say. For instance, last meeting, I referred to a resident by name as someone who might be qualified for a position. And I believe that was inappropriate, so I apologize for that. I want to assure you that my intentions are rooted solely in representing the voices and concerns of the residents in this room and in our community. It's my duty and responsibility to advocate passionately for the needs of our community, even if it means engaging in robust debate. I will not stop that. Please understand that my intent is never to create discord among the 7 of us, but rather to ensure that all perspectives are thoroughly considered in our decision-making process. Furthermore, I'd like to highlight that many residents consistently express their gratitude for my efforts in speaking up, creating transparency, and embracing accountability. It's critical that we listen attentively to our residents and not always agree with advice that is given to us. Our primary allegiance should always be to the community we serve, and it's imperative that we prioritize their needs above all else. For me, their trust and support serve as a constant reminder of the importance of our role as public servants, and I hope it does for you too. Thanks for the opportunity, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, I just want to mention Cheryl Bacon. I was on council for 8 years, been mayor for 10 years. I've known Cheryl Bacon for 18 years. She was, as indicated, very dedicated to the borough. She spent a lot of time on the comprehensive plan. I just read in the paper the other day, the city of Pittsburgh is doing a comprehensive plan. They're going to spend $6 million on their comprehensive plan, 2.5 million from citizen input and 3.5 on other experts. Cheryl Bacon and the Planning Commission for the last 2 years have spent numerous hours preparing the comprehensive plan. It's 80 pages long. The cost to the borough is $0. I mean, they got input from the citizens. They did a stellar job. I went to their public hearing. Cheryl chaired it back in November of 2023, and they were going to have a meeting in January to finalize it and to submit it to council, but due to her illness, that got delayed. So I'm sure the rest of the planning commission would take that up. But like I said, she spent numerous hours for the good of the community there. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents. And I mean, I thanked her when she was alive, but belatedly thank her also. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Anyone else? She surely will be missed, and it's a big loss for us for sure.
The services are Wednesday or
Right.
Wednesday.
Wednesday night is the viewing and Thursday is the.
Private
Where
ceremony.
is the viewing?
We're at, you know.
Slater.
Slater's?
Yeah, Slater.
4 to 7.
4 to 7, yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to a presentation from the manager on the proposed pool contract.
So I would say more than a presentation, what I'm trying to do is just to address some of the concerns that were raised at last week's meeting. And then, you know, some of the citizens were good enough to email me directly this week. So I tried to respond to anybody that emailed me. So if you did email me and I didn't respond, it's because it must have gone to spam. But I can assure you, anybody whose message I got, I did respond to. So again, important that the community understands there's clearly a concern of impact to what the pool will look like this year. So I'm just going to kind of read down through some fact clarifications, and then council has questions, certainly let me know. So the pool management company would be brought in to hire, schedule, process payroll for all lifeguards and lifeguard supervisory personnel. All lifeguards will be paid $15 per hour, which is actually higher than what Green Tree Borough has as a rate of pay for them. All previously employed lifeguards, Green Tree pool lifeguards, as well as any new qualified Green Tree residents will be rehired and and new ones given preference in the hiring process for summer of ’24. And just so there's no mistaken that it's a minimum age 15 to be a lifeguard in Pennsylvania. So just so that, because I think somebody brought up a potential applicant at the age of 14 last week. So supervisory personnel provided by the pool management company will be responsible for the lifeguard staff only. Lifeguard staff duties, responsibilities will not change from prior years. So if you come back to work for us this year, it should look and feel no different than last year. Lifeguard staffing levels for the 2024 season will mirror the staffing levels of the 2023 season and seasons prior to that. We're not cutting back. We're not shortchanging it at all. There's still, a 7 guard rotation that is scheduled for full-time pool operating hours. So again, that will not change. Green Tree Pool lifeguards will not be reassigned to work other pools at the direction of the pool management company. If you are hired to work for Green Tree, you will work the Green Tree pool, and that is it. If there's an opportunity to work at another pool and you want to go work there as a lifeguard, I'm sure they might be able to provide that opportunity, but it absolutely positively will not be required. The advertisement for the lifeguard positions, we will post them on our website. I'm sure American Pool would post them on their website as well. Additionally, all 2023 pool employees will be notified by mail of any changes that this council would approve, and special care given to encourage and welcome them back to the 2024 season. Concession and front gate operations will not be managed by American Pool. They will be managed by in-house Green Tree Borough staff. We are very fortunate and blessed to have 2 returning supervisors come back, and they will assume those responsibilities for us. Same with the lifeguards. Any of the concession stand employees that worked for us last year that would like to come back this year, we would love to have them. And I certainly hope they come back, as well as all the lifeguards. Let's see. And then again, concession and front gate personnel will be supervised. They'll be employees of the borough and supervised by supervisors that are employed by the borough. Pool operations. Pool management company works for Green Tree Borough. Green Tree Borough directs all aspects of pool operations, including pool admission fees, pool admission policies, hours of operation, all of which will be the same as prior years. It will include community/lap swim. I know in the agreement that was posted online, it says lap swim only. That is community swim and lap swim. That is typically also the time when swim lessons are conducted, water aerobics are conducted. I know those are really popular programs. They are not going away. They will not be affected. It will be operated the same as other years. Accommodations will be made for the swim team, no differently than in years past. We continue to have, we'll have the 4th of July celebration, any other special events that we can staff, pool rentals and parties. All of that will be the same. Matter of fact, our in-house staff has already started preparations for the 4th of July. With respect to the cost to outsource the provision of guards and the management. I know some numbers have been tossed about, but I want to assure you that the number quoted by American Pool Services is $160,000. To give you an understanding of how that compares to what we paid last year, our guards and management last year cost the borough $143,688. If I hire a new manager for this year, say we don't go with American Pool Management, if I hire a new manager and somehow I can get a person less expensive, I may be able to save off of what they've offered, maybe $17,000. And that is not taking into consideration any potential credits for weather closures. That $143,688 includes, that is net, right? So that is net gross. It includes days that we did not operate last year. 160 includes operating every single day at full capacity with no closures. And I think we all know in Pittsburgh that's probably not likely. So I just wanted the public to understand it's not a $30,000, $40,000 difference. Right now we are at $17,000, not $17,900 difference. Things taken into consideration when we decide to hire an individual or hire a company. I think we all know when you hire an individual, again, you have one person. If that one person falls short, decides the position's not for them, we put ourselves in the position of having a vacancy. And that position, when we hire it individually, is a certified pool operator. If they do not stay on staff, the pool does not open. If I hire a company, and the manager that they provide does not work out for some reason, or they take ill and can't be there. They have several layers, I believe, in fact, and they're here this evening and they can certainly speak to it. They have pretty much everybody in their employ is a certified pool operator. So we have a depth of resources in that position to ever put us in the position of losing management and losing the ability to open the pool and operate safely. They will do, again, all the training, certifications, whatever we need to keep the pool up and running and to keep it up and running in a safe fashion. Again, and they're here so they can speak to it. I believe they've been in business since 2008 here in Pittsburgh. They have full HR services. They do, I think another thing that they come up that guards are 1099 at the end of the year and they're responsible for paying all their own taxes. That is not the case. These are W-2 employees and these young people will not be responsible to figure it out at the end of the year. Again, on-site supervision will be at the pool at all operating hours, which is very important. And there will be full coverage for any extra activities that we would want to have. You know, and again, like some of the cons of this, right? I understand that the community may be concerned. It does sound scary that an outside company is going to come in and run our pool. They are not going to run our pool again. We, myself, you know, with input from this council, we run the day-to-day. We decide when it opens. We decide when it closes. We decide what activities there will be. Again, swim lessons, community swim, water aerobics, all that stuff is going to be exactly the same as it was last year. You know, again, I know it's, you know, when it's like the circle game, you know, sometimes when you go around the circle, it comes out differently, but I just want to assure you that these are the facts. This is how it will be next year. And, you know, I just hope the community can see that the goal here is that you have a pool for every sunny day with the same kids. I hope you see all the same faces. We're really hoping all the kids will come back. There's no reason why they shouldn't. And even with regard to the management, they have assured me they will give preference. In fact, they prefer to have a community person working for them because they know the community, they know the faces, they know the young people that are working there. We all know these are a lot of young people that, you know, kind of look to, like, they like things to be familiar, and we certainly respect that and understand that. And that is why the goal will be to hire people right from Green Tree that are familiar with our operations. So I think that covers most of what came up as questions and through email, through feedback and input from the council. So.
Do we ask questions now or
Yeah.
do we wait? One question that was asked last time, I don't think you addressed, Judy, two actually. The extra insurance, how much does that cost?
None. There is no extra. I sent the full document to the insurance company and they said there's just a requirement for the pool management company to name us as an additional insured, which they have agreed to.
Okay. And then I guess it's a question for the pool management company, but it's American Pool Services. Is that doing business as?
American Pool Management of Pittsburgh.
Is that the same as American Pool Services and American Pool Enterprises?
American Pool Enterprises is our parent company.
Okay.
There's
Maybe.
American Pool Services for American Pool Management of Pittsburgh, under American Pool Enterprises.
Yeah, he's gonna give a present. Yeah,
Yeah, in a minute, he's going to be doing an introduction. Right now, we're just having some questions internally from council.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I'll hold off until.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
You
Thank
you okay then? Okay, at this point, we'd really like to have the opportunity to have American Pool step up, tell us a little bit about yourself.
And I will say their names are Brian and Jen Bell.
So I would appreciate if you go to the microphone. Thank you very much for being here.
Sorry.
My name is Brian Bell. I'm actually from Pittsburgh originally. This is my wife, Jen. The company is called American Pool Management Pittsburgh. It's not American Pool Services. We're an entity of American Pool Enterprises, which is our corporate office down in Maryland. Our office opened, and it's actually in 2005, our first year in Pittsburgh. That was the first year we're out here. And we've been going since, well, since then. We're slowly, we have some borough pools, and I understand you guys, everyone's worried about us coming in. You think we're gonna change everything around. We're not looking to change. We're looking to make everything just as it was in prior years. We want everything to run as smooth as possible, where you don't even know we're there. You just think it's just taken care of by the Green Tree Borough as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so as Brian said, we started here in Pittsburgh. Both of us worked for the Philadelphia office right out of college. I was actually a lifeguard since I've been 16 years old. So aquatics has always been something that I have been a part of, that has been our passion. You know, our business has changed over the years. We have a number of larger, you know, multi-guard facilities such as borough pools, swim clubs, as well as we also do a huge portion of our business is also maintenance. So we're, you know, we do a little bit of everything, and you know, our goal is really just to take care of your pool, just as it would be ours. You know, we want to hire your lifeguard staff. You know, they're a resident of your community, and you know that's what they're here to do. So we want them as part of our team. You know, as Judy said, you know, we work for you. You know, but we're also a team. You know, working with the borough, it's a team effort, you know, and anything that we can do to improve, that's what we're here to do. But, you know, to start off, we want it to be as seamless as possible. You know, we want the lifeguards to enjoy working at the pool and enjoy working for us as well.
And as Judy said before, when it comes to as far as the CPO aspect, every seasonal employee that works in our office, whether they be a maintenance technician, a supervisor, a repair tech, every person that steps foot on your pool is a CPO. We get them all certified. That way they know what they're going into, and we can work through your pool. Your pool is different than someone else's. We can go in and troubleshoot your pool, just like we can at Brentwood or Baldwin.
As far as hiring, we do have a full staffing team. You know, as Judy said, we care for your lifeguards. You know, we want it to be as seamless as possible. You know, so we would, you know, create a meeting just initially off the bat for all the staff, you know, to introduce ourselves, introduce our staff, tell them, you know, a little bit about, you know, expectations. You know, obviously there's going to be some things that might be a little bit different, just because, you know, we're a little different than the borough. You know, all of our scheduling's done online, explain all that, you know, explain our orientation process, our onboarding, our hiring, all of that. You know, from there we would, you know, answer any questions and have individual meetings, you know, with all the staff as well. You know, as far as our layers of management, of course, there's Brian and I, we work together as a team. And then we have Anthony, who is our aquatics facility manager. He's also an instructor, as well as a certified pool operator, and he's in charge of managing all of our management staff and facilities. Below him, we have an assistant regional that's a seasonal position for now. It is something that we're looking to make as a full-time year-round position going forward, but she would be assisting him as well, helping with trainings, helping with in-services and all that. And then we have our area supervisors. They're our certified pool operator, as well as our supervisor of your management, your on-site management team, and your on-site lifeguards. From there, we have a manager. The manager's in charge of, you know, scheduling all the lifeguards. They're, you know, helping with in-service trainings, you know, day-to-day operations of all the staff. We would also have an assistant manager as well as head lifeguards. So at all times, there would be a manager or an assistant manager on duty at all times. And then from there, our supervisor comes in throughout the day, as well as all of the rest of our staff throughout the day and throughout the week, checking up on everyone and making sure that, you know, the pool is running smoothly.
Our supervisor does show up 7 days a week. They're only scheduled 5, and then there would be 2 days where the substitute supervisors would pop in, whether even could be Anthony or myself. where you're gonna get visits every day. One day it could be noon, one day it could be 4 o'clock, so they don't necessarily know, we're not gonna be there at the same time every day to check up on the guards. So it sort of allows us to make sure the pool's running properly at 4 o'clock, whether it be 7 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a surprise visit every day. That way, it sort of helps just us see how the pool runs at different hours of the day.
We're missing anything.
Okay, do council has any questions?
You have some questions. Thank you for the presentation. Very informative. I appreciate it. What other borough pools, you mentioned Baldwin and
We manage Baldwin, Brentwood. We do the daily CPO for Avonworth.
We do Avalon as
Avalon.
well, but unfortunately,
They don't
those two are not opening this year for repairs. but-
what's that, when you say daily CPO versus? you
We do
doing-
the daily maintenance at Avonworth Community Park. So we don't do the lifeguards. We just go in, do the chemicals and do the CPO stuff.
Okay.
That's required.
So how do you find the managers?
They come from, it could be someone that has come up from, staff, previously, worked their way up, which is usually the way we like to do it. If depending on the pool of, staff that has come up within, the previous staff. We look at the schools, we look at teachers, a variety of different ways, but the goal is to hire within if we have that applicant and that person that is gonna be a right fit, a good fit for your pool.
Okay. Do you post the jobs?
Yes,
Okay, so do you post on Indeed? I want to make sure
we do.
so the one on Indeed I saw for Baldwin, it says minimum age 30 years of age, ability to work independently and as a part of a team. Current lifeguard certification is preferred, not required, and have a background in supervising and management.
Yes.
So that means you don't have to have pool management
I
experience.
mean, obviously, we want that,
Right.
that's a goal.
But you would hire somebody that
We
doesn't
would,
have,
as long as, but they would have to, they would go through a different level of, I would say, training. They do have to become a certified lifeguard, but it's rare that is.
they do have to become a certified.
Yes,
We'll hire if they're not certified and we'll get them trained.
The Brentwood one is it was 2 bullets, ability to work independently as part of a team and have a background in supervising and management. So it's similar, so if you were to post hours, would that be,
we
same
would
criteria?
work with you to make sure that it's worded exactly how you would want it to be.
okay,
Sometimes we change things up a little bit in the advertisement, depending on what exactly we're looking for.
so, thank you for that. Some of these questions were answered. So you're part of a franchise? Or
No.
you're
It's
a
a
franchise-
partnership.
It's a partnership with the company in Dell.
It's in
Maryland? Okay. So is it always a full complement of 7 lifeguards, or if there's low attendance, do you send lifeguards home?
We can do, it depends on the scenario. I mean, if it's really a rainy day, then yes, we would send 1 or 2
But-
home.
Well, let's say
Us not knowing your pool, how it operates, or if it's slow at 2 o'clock, it might get busy at 4, but
Yeah,
it'd be a work in progress. But if it's gonna be a slow day and it's 75 degrees all day, we'll send a few guards home. We'll need a minimum number of guards to take care of the size of your pool.
what's the minimum number?
You would need at least 3. I believe, I have to double check the size of your pool, but
I think it was a minimum of 5.
I think it's 5.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it was
Yeah.
a
And then-
minimum
I think it's
5,
5.
but
We
we
would
like
just-
7.
But we wouldn't do, if the sun's shining, we really wouldn't send people.
So even if there's only 5 people at the pool, because like late
Well,
August,
I mean, it depends on, is that 5 people at noon or 5 people at, 6
just
o'clock?
could be a handful throughout
Right.
the day.
Right.
we would keep them all there if it's a nice
For
day.
the majority of the day,
Regardless of how many people are in the pool.
yes, because in the event that a whole bunch of people were to come in, then we don't have that staff there to safely maintain and supervise those swimmers.
So then you would always have that full complement, because you wouldn't know if there are more people are gonna come later in the
If
day.
it's a nice day, if it's raining, then we might send
Right,
1 or 2
raining,
home. But if it's a nice day, unless it's like freezing cold, then we would also work with you guys as the borough, to decide what to do.
Okay, what extra costs can we expect from you?
The only thing that is swim lessons, just because we don't know the number of instructors that we need off the top, to start. So that would be an extra expense, which we've already.
What about-
Let me say, that is just the cost of the guards. So
Yes.
right now,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
staffed at 5
Yes.
for community swim. So depending, and that's only like a couple of weeks too, by the way, of the
Right.
summer. That's not like that's every day throughout the summer. It's only offered for a couple of weeks.
So it's just the instructors that would be additional. And if there were a lot of kids in the swim lessons and we needed to add extra guards, then that would be an additional cost, but that would just be during those hours of swim lesson.
So you're gonna pay our guards $15,
Yes,
regardless of years of experience?
correct.
So, okay, so then what's your business model? You're making it on, and what's your business model?
I mean,
We have there's a small fee, service fees that
on-
are in the
added
contract.
on, yeah.
Is it a flat fee that we're paying you to manage the pool, or is it a percentage of the wage?
It's a
It's a percentage.
of the contract, of the overall contract price.
Yeah, the 160 is all inclusive.
So 160 is flat. We're
Yes.
paying you 160.
Yes.
Right.
Unless there's, at the end of the season, you use less hours and you have less payroll, then we would go back and we'll audit that as we're going throughout the season. We won't do any credits until the end of the season, because there could be something where, you have a pool party, for example, and we require 2 extra guards. And then, maybe you have a rainy day where we send a couple guards home, that kind of balances out. But we would audit throughout the year and check all that as we go throughout the
So
season.
what's the minimum number of hours that you have built in? Is there a minimum
I
number?
on
don't
the
know
sheet.
the answer to
It's,
that.
it's,
without
it's
looking
on
at it
the,
already.
it's on,
So we have to hit that minimum threshold.
no, there's no minimum.
That's
The way the contract's set up, it's the maximum number of scheduled hours for
Scheduled
the 7
hours,
guards and a
yes.
manager.
Okay,
Dave.
okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
left
kind of
that.
outline how many, this staffing, so the 160 would include this schedule of staffing. And the reason why I didn't put the swim lessons in there, because it's almost impossible, I have no idea how many may show up or not, and I
Right.
didn't want it baked into the price when I don't know if I would need it or not.
So
And we
swim
don't
lessons
wanna do
and
that either
private
because-
parties,
Right.
all that would
Yeah.
then be added on.
What we found really just in the past with private parties, they're pretty much a wash. Or they still save you money. So over the course of the summer in Pittsburgh, you're gonna get some rainy days that you'll save some hours here and there.
For those parties.
Yeah.
And we're
Um,
gonna audit those hours throughout the season so that we know where we stand.
Okay, so you said you work with Baldwin and Brentwood. What other larger pools have you worked with in the past that you don't know?
None,
Don't
We take care of
know.
You have 100% retention?
yes. We've been with, just for instance, like Rose Garden Swim Club down in McMurray. We've been with them for,
Since we started.
yeah,
with-
14,
since we
15
started-
years.
Since the office.
Community Swim Club, which is a 6-guard pool. We've been with them for
I'm gonna say 9 years
8, 9
now.
years. All the larger pools have stuck around year after year.
Okay, and what about larger community pools like a township or a borough?
The only ones we have ever had were Baldwin and
Baldwin and
Brentwood.
Okay, how long have you had them?
Brentwood was the first one, and that was probably 2016, 2017.
I forget what year.
And then
they
Baldwin was a
closed.
year after that.
Okay, and how many lifeguards do they have?
Baldwin has 4, Brentwood has 4 and
4.
4 as
So
well,
we'd be the largest
other than
borough,
community.
Borough.
community
Yeah.
swim club, largest borough or township. Okay, so help me understand this. Because I can see how your service is really important for those smaller pools that don't have the resources that we have. What's your value add? Because it sounds like what you're doing is hiring the guards and hiring the manager and letting them run it. How would that be any different than us hiring the manager and guards? You said you like to hire from within, and I appreciate that because I do too. So if there were how would that be any different?
So, I mean, the biggest thing is our level of pull for other people, for lifeguards, for example, so, and the manager. So I'll use Judith's example of the manager. Say the manager doesn't work out, that is hired, whether it's from within or not. We have a bigger pool of staff that we can look at to hire, to take and hire for that position, to fill that open position. Same thing goes with lifeguards. Of course, we hope that we don't need to look outside of, your current staff or your current community. But if we need to, if someone calls off and again, just an example, not saying that we would do this, but if we had to, we have the ability to take a lifeguard that maybe does work at Baldwin or Brentwood and say, hey, we really need your help today. Can you come fill in for this lifeguard at this pool? Where you guys, if you're hiring within, you don't have that pool. Plus we do have all the extra layers of staff. So there are extra layers of supervision.
What do you mean extra layers of staff? Because you had to post on Indeed to find Brentwood and Baldwin, and you've been working with them, so.
We did last year. We don't always, actually, the Baldwin lifeguard, or the Baldwin manager last year was not, she was from within American Pool. She wasn't from within Baldwin, but she was from within American Pool.
Okay.
So it also depends on the ages of the lifeguard staff. So if we have a young lifeguard staff, we can't necessarily always pull from within that specific community to find a manager. Those aren't even posted right now, so I'm aware of, so I'm not, I think I know. So our, sorry,
It's good.
my brain's going
Yeah.
in 20 different directions. So part of our hiring process, we use a system called Fountain, and they automatically, for any open position, technical, open or not, it pulls it into it.
Okay.
So that could be what you're looking at right now. But if we were to need to post a specific post for a manager for you, it would be something different out of what you might be looking at.
Okay, I have one question.
I hope that makes sense.
It does, yeah. One question, and then I'll hand it over. Based on all of your experience managing pools, approximately how many hours does a pool manager work in the summer? From, assuming the pool is open from May to, or Memorial Day to Labor Day?
The total number?
Yeah, just on that, just ballpark.
I would say 500.
500.
Yeah,
So,
ish.
good.
I could be wrong.
I was gonna say 900. Our pool is open 900.
Yeah, right.
500 is
Well,
probably,
I'm talking like manager, assistant manager, you break it out, but we want them working about 40 hours a week.
yeah, so that covers all scheduling, preseason stuff.
Yes.
So this is where I get, I know that I might get a reaction here. The 143,000 that we paid last year, the manager charged us over 1,700 hours. That 143 is not accurate. It's not a personnel issue. It's a bill.
It is.
It's a bill.
I'm gonna advise that we stop this discussion.
I'm done. I'll hand it over.
I have a question. So you said you manage Acord,
We do the maintenance on it.
the maintenance on that. And that is, if I grew up there, so that is an older style pool. Very similar to our lovely but aging pool. So one of the things that's in this contract talks about maintenance. And being that we do have an older pool, it does have its unique quirks and idiosyncrasies. What is your experience having dealt with a pool? I know Avalon's getting redone because they're an aging pool. Baldwin is also doing the same thing, and Acord is definitely even very similar in the exact layout of our pool with the separate baby pool and all that. So I'd just like you to speak to that a little.
Every pool has its quirks. It's one of those things where I've been around pools since 2003, 2004, to where I've probably 500-600 pools operating, where not just one pool, to where we'll spend a few days once your pool gets filled and filtering, we could spend a couple days just initially getting it worked up and get all the quirks that we can see. Then there's gonna be, honestly, it's gonna be a daily process of seeing what's happening when your pool is busy or when it's pool slower.
One other question, you mentioned that you would work with the borough, or you have worked with the boroughs when you've created the job descriptions for the manager positions based on kind of what you need and what the borough is looking for. And that is the case if we were to go forward, that you would work with the borough on crafting those positions. And you would be interested in looking at hires from within the Green Tree community that may apply to the management, assisted management, head lifeguard positions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If we don't even need to post, if there are suggestions or thoughts or people apply, without us even completely posting, we're all for that to start off. I would say the posting is when we don't have any ideas, to start off.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
If we need to go ahead and post, we would work with you as much as you want to be involved or as little as you want to be involved.
One other question. Training wise, you said you would do 2 trainings. Is that 2 trainings a month with the guards?
We do an in-service once a month, but then we also do surprise audits throughout the summer as well, where the staff does not know that they're being audited. So we do that. And then we do a preseason orientation and in water pool stuff, that kind of stuff.
What's your average retention? I know that's hard with community guards and things like that, but as far as guards you've hired at pools and how often they return the next year, how do you feel that?
I would say it's about maybe 80% retention. I will tell you that we have had lifeguards that have worked for us since they were 15, 16 years old, have worked their way up into supervisory positions, as well as, for example, our staffing assistant this season is a previous pool manager. So she's, taking, we kind of worked their way up. So we really try to keep the guards around.
And as far as guards that if they want, like you were saying, you would bring if we had a vacancy, like for example, if Taylor Swift were coming and 5 of our lifeguards just all had the same day off.
Right.
And you needed to staff.
Yeah.
And you were pulling from another pool because we didn't have any guards that could do it. Is there an age limit at where you transfer guards from pool to pool? Do you only do that if they're above 18? Or are you having high school kids come from pool to pool, or is that something more for like the college level
It really
kids?
just depends on the situation and what the lifeguard wants to do. If the lifeguard doesn't want to travel, then absolutely we would not make that lifeguard travel.
Okay.
If they're interested in working at a different pool for us and they're, 16, 17 years old, absolutely.
We try not to pull guards, say, from Green Tree to go to Baldwin or Brentwood or vice versa. Because they don't have the rules where if it's one of those things where if needed, we'll have the guard come in and we'll have the supervisor and whoever the pool managers meet that guard just to go over those specific pool rules for your specific pool.
Gotcha.
Again, this isn't something that
Right.
would happen regularly, but we have the ability if it's needed.
Yeah, just as a scenario,
Yeah,
trying to get our
absolutely.
heads around everything. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a question? Can you talk a little bit about your onboarding experience? So I'm a new guard, I'm coming in. Can you tell me a little bit about what I can expect to get ready to do my job?
So the initial, the application process is actually a text to apply. So they go through that process, they would set up an interview. We would also do that meeting initially first, to kind of get the guards prepared for that. Everything as far as paperwork and all that kind of stuff is done through Workday. And then from there, like I said, they go through the interview, they go through the onboarding, and then we would, in all those processes, kind of talk a little bit how scheduling works, how the system works. And then we do a preseason orientation, which goes more in depth about, working at the pool, working for us at the facility. In between, we talk about uniforms and all those other little things throughout that preseason part. Tanya, our staffing director, she sends out newsletters, birthday cards, little things to keep the lifeguards engaged. There's Instagram posts as well. So just little things like that.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Outside of your requirements of your pool management staff for operating the pool, are there other requirements that you have for them as being a managerial roles, i.e. Having background clearances because they will be managing staff under the age of 18?
Yes, they all go through a background check. That's part of the onboarding process, as well as we would require them to have all their clearances.
Thank you.
Ed Shank, I still have some problems with the contract, and I know we have a process, and I'm not going to bring up those problems now, but who's the power to be? Is it somebody here? Do you have an attorney? Who's working with the contract from your end?
Both, depending on which part of the contract. I do most of it, but then if I'm unsure, because I'm not an attorney, we do have a risk manager who's an attorney that I go to.
Okay, because
But
I,
everything goes through me unless I really can't handle it.
okay, because I agree that a contract consists of some legal parts, like the insurance and indemnification, but it also, 80% of it, or maybe more, deal with, day-to-day things that you really, attorney doesn't need involved. It's just,
Yeah, it just depends on the portion of the contract and my level of confidence and
right.
what is being asked to change.
And I just want to encourage all council to read the contract, because sometimes I think we depend too much on thinking it's all a legal document, but it is all a legal document, but council can understand 85% of it and have input to, to look after our interests, just like you're looking after your needs. So you're willing to negotiate some of these terms, correct, still?
Yeah, this isn't a final draft.
Correct, okay, thank you.
I have changed what has been brought up tonight.
Correct, I did notice this is a second draft, and some of the things that struck me the first time have been changed in the second draft, but there's still some questions I have, and, if we decide to hire you, we can work with you, and to the extent necessary, your
Absolutely.
risk management person. Thank you.
Oh, well then, hi. Speaking of the contract, I did notice in the contract that you state that your industry depends heavily on the international exchange program, which is run by the State Department, which is international exchange students, migrant workers. You have that right in the contract, and it states, so, I mean, do you use a lot of migrant workers?
No, we don't.
You do not.
There's other offices that in Maryland, DC, that they use a lot of H2Bs and J1s that they come over. We have, as far as our company, we do have our own, it's called United Work and Travel. They actually do their own recruiting, and we don't bring them over from the state. They're actually brought over from our company, but we don't actually use them in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Well,
okay,
in
In Pittsburgh.
but it is in the contract.
It can be scratched out,
We
we
can
don't
take
use
that
it.
out.
Okay, because it just, it was such a big part of the contract. I was wondering what was going on. Also, just for clarification, you provide professional services, but you also provide maintenance work and such as testing the pool, cleaning the pool, maintaining the pool. So you provide both management, professional services, and actual custodial services. Okay.
And we can also do repair work if needed, if Public Works wasn't, if they were busy, we could take care of that as well.
Okay, well, no, but thank you, that's well noted, thank you.
So is that an additional cost?
Well, repair wise, yes, like if a pump were to blow, stuff like that.
Okay. I have another question. Unless
Anybody else have any questions?
This is,
David, you want
this
to?
is absolutely related. In general, Kate, are timesheets subject to right to know? Can anybody out here file a right to know request and access timesheets?
Mostly, yes.
Okay. If mostly yes, in what cases would they not be?
I would review them all. Generally, yes. I mean, there may be some information that gets redacted depending on how time's entered or what information's provided, or if there's personal information or personnel information. It's just the lawyer in me has a hard time giving you a blanket yes.
Why is me bringing up the number of hours that were reported last year by the former pool manager personnel issue?
I think that this would be an appropriate discussion for executive session.
Well, then we should adjourn to executive session because that could that's where the 40,000, that could be a significant number. If the number we're at right now, 160 to the management company, 143 were our costs last year, that's only a 10% margin. They're not going to be standing here to work on a 10% margin. Maybe a 20% margin. And the way you get to a 20% margin is you have a pool manager that works 600 hours, not the number that I gave earlier. So if we need to adjourn to executive session to have the right numbers to make an informed decision, then I think we should.
If I just may say, I kind of went down through all of the.
Can I get an answer to that first, please?
May I say something?
No, please.
I will be happy to answer your questions in executive session. If you want to make a statement that you think that the contract can be had or the services can be provided for less money, that's a okay statement to make. If we're talking specifically about current or former employees, I'm going to advise against that.
Even though that anyone can file a right to know to see those timesheets.
Yes,
And why, I don't understand why you're advising against it.
then I would suggest
Okay.
we go to executive session.
Okay.
Well, couldn't you just say that?
I believe, can I just say,
The building
Seriously.
would be.
I believe-
less.
Excuse us.
I'm saying, couldn't you just?
Hold it, Ron. Excuse me.
Sorry.
If you want legal advice, then we should go talk and have legal advice.
But does it have to do with the decision at hand?
absolutely. It
We
has-
need to
it has
know-
do with costs.
I think it does not have to do with the decision at hand.
I
That's my
believe it
opinion.
does.
That's fine.
And I'll just weigh in and say, I think it has to do with resolution of an issue that has gone by us. I have gone down through and I've calculated the number of hours that I believe require coverage by management, because we wanted management there all times. And I come up with 1,035 hours.
You just heard from the experts say 600.
I understand that.
Excuse me, we're here to discuss.
We are discussing.
And there's
Art, don't
one-
doubt
and is
me
there
again.
one-
No, we're not.
We're having discussion.
Okay,
Okay,
so
but
I'm
you're
just
on-
saying, David, so the pool during peak hours is open 80 hours a week. If we want somebody there during every hour, we need somebody for 80 hours during the week. So I don't know how that's possible. So I'm just gonna say, and
I
I,
don't know without going back and looking at the actual bid, I don't know off the top of my head what the total number of hours are, the actual contract is and how it's broken out. I can easily get you that information first thing tomorrow morning. But I will say that I'm sure it's over 1,000 hours.
That's between the assistant and
That's
manager.
between the manager and the assistant.
Right, let's call
So
it
when I
1,000.
was saying that, I was saying like it one person, but that's not, like, the manager themselves might have, you know, they might have a week where, you know, there's an assistant there or, you know, whatever. That's just management in general. That's not necessarily, I mean, obviously one manager is not gonna work 80 hours.
Right.
So I don't know, like, I can get you that information. I just don't have it here tonight.
I just want to be able to compare apples to apples. This is nothing
I
against
just wanted
you.
to clarify on
I
my end
appreciate it.
that I can easily
Thank
get you that information, I just don't have that information. in front of me.
So saying 1,000 hours of management time
Yes.
would be
Absolutely, but
Great.
that would be broken up.
Mr.
between
President, point of
staff.
privilege at this point, please.
Yes, sir.
So my question to you is this being the management, assistant management is seasonal, correct?
Yes.
They do not start working in January or February to start prepping the facility, correct?
We,
They would start working April,
no, in May,
in May?
yep. Because
And
we
month
do,
would be
September,
September.
Labor
In this
Day.
contract, this Public Works Department, borough will be responsible for the opening and the closing of that facility. Your company and your management staff will be responsible for everything in between that time frame. Correct?
correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, I would like to move on to anything Thank you very much. I appreciate if you could be here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, any citizens wishing to address council would ask you to come up, and there's a 3-minute time limit, and Mrs. Dearson will be keeping track of the time. So we would ask you to come up, state your name and whatever you would like to discuss, and you have a 3-minute timetable. So please, if anyone would like to step up, now's the time.
Hello, Kara Martorella, 179 Arla Drive. First, I just want to say thank you for extending this meeting from last week, and thank you to the board members who I've talked to over the week for providing me with both points of view. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, taking that extra time to speak to me on behalf of both. So I really appreciate that. Thank you again to American Services for coming and helping us understand more about your services. This took, I'm sure, time out of your day, time out of everybody else to have an extended meeting. So one more thank you, and then I'll get on with my questions. The questions I have with going through the contract, and obviously are just general questions, but first we talked most about having priority for our community children to have priority as lifeguards. So I'm hoping that as the drafts go through, if you continue with this contract, that the first right of refusal for our community will actually be in the contract and not just hearsay. So that would be great to have the things that we were told are going to happen be in the contract so we can be assured. So I would appreciate that, and I'm sure that you will, and you'll do your jobs, and that will be fantastic. Second of all, I left last Monday extremely frustrated as a citizen of this community. It felt like we weren't being heard as much of our concerns. And I know everybody can apologize today, but it felt more as if this is my side against your side. This community is not going to stand for that. We are here, first and foremost, most of us have blindly just trusted this board because you're our peers, you're our community, you're our neighbors. We are hope that more than one avenue is going to be looked at today, that we're not going with one choice, that we're gonna look at multiple avenues, and maybe it has, and we're just unaware. But multiple avenues are looked at to choose the best one for the community, not just guessing, not making decisions off of fear, saying, what if? We hope that all the what ifs are looked at and viewed before a decision is made. Our community defends and loves this pool, as you can see by all the people behind me. So I urge you to please look at all options before making a decision. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Reno Lindsay, 131 Park Edge. I apologize if I missed this, but did somebody, because there was a lot of information, did somebody ask about, we had to cancel a couple events last year over, extra events, like wing night or something or whatever. I got to check my notes, but did anybody ask about when the staff runs low, they're going to be able to cover that?
That's,
The other issue was towards the end of the year is the college kids that are normally lifeguards go back to school. Again, same issue. We're gonna have guards throughout.
The schedule provides pretty much within 3 days of what we provided last year.
Okay.
So, but at the end of August, there are no high schoolers and there's no college kids to serve.
And following up on what Mr. Ray said, because I hold no such restraints, apparently they've been given out by the solicitor. It was 1,700 hours when it was discovered with a month to go. So I'd say 1,800 hours for the pool manager last year, who the majority of the people in the room probably know was probably there about half of that time or less, in which case we had somebody else in place and paying that person as well as the person we were paying to not be there. So the $17,000 estimate is not accurate in any way, shape, or form. It's at least the 40 that you've been discussing. Thank you.
Hi, Jeff Natale, 895 Cherry Street. Couple things. I did read the contract and then I said, I'm not reading this. It's not my job to decipher the legal verbiage in there. But I did notice something that was just mentioned here. At the last meeting, there was, I think, all the way up to the top. I won't even mention names, but the statement that we hope, or it's my understanding, that we'll hire the lifeguards from Green Tree. It needs to be in this contract. I mean, if you're saying it, or you're hoping it, or you're wishing it, it needs to be part of the contract. The second thing I would say is, you guys, you're the vendor, you're here. I mean, you're in this to make money. We know that. You're not in business not to make money. So there are going to be differences in the way the pool was run when Green Tree was running it and when this new vendor is running it. So we can all stop saying everything is going to be the same, because it's not. I've outsourced a number of processes over my lifetime. And the first thing that everybody says is going to end up the same, and it's not the same. So again, I would look, if we are going to move forward with a contract, that the verbiage be added for the employees, and what are the service level agreements? When something happens, how fast do you react? And that should be in writing. And when you don't react, what do we do? The citizens, what does the borough do? That should be in writing. I don't see service level agreements in the contract at all. So again, just something to think about there. I would be willing to sit down with council if you want to talk about service level agreements and working to build them in. There was also talk about a citizen in Green Tree that has knowledge of pool management. And I don't know if anyone on council has knowledge of day-to-day pool management, but if there is a citizen and they're not looking for a job, at least they may be looking to help us as an advisor. Maybe we pay them something for their knowledge, but for us to assume that we know everything about day-to-day pool management and just accept what the vendor is going to tell us, I think would be a mistake on our part. So again, my point is there needs to be a lot more investigation surrounding the contract before we could even make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bob Godovic, 10 Crestmont. I guess I have a sort of a process procedural question. And in watching last week's meeting and listening to today's discussion, something that was unclear to me is, in this process, where does responsibility lie for choosing to outsource borough functions? Is it the responsibility of borough council? Is it responsibility of the mayor or the borough manager? Who's tasked with making that choice and who's tasked with oversight? It's confusing, as a citizen, to make an opinion about this, because the process is a bit unclear. So that's just a question posed to you guys. Maybe you could help us understand a little better how you're choosing to proceed down this path.
Thank you.
Bob, we're gonna vote here in a couple of minutes on which path to go. At least that's what's on the agenda. And then the borough manager, depending on if council agrees to move forward with the pool management company, and the borough manager would be responsible for oversight.
Steve Bonnet, 102 East Manila Avenue. I just have questions about so you're $17,000 over expense compared to last year. That does not include concession in the two assistant managers, the other employees.
The comparison was only that was completely excluding all concession workers and both supervisors. They were not included to calculate that $17,000.
So that's just based on a manager and the guard.
Just the guards. And
Okay.
that was for the pool operating season as it operated. There were several days that we did not open. So that's kind of part of that.
How many
That's part of
people
that difference.
generally do they have working for concessions?
Concession
Staff.
stand employees, we had about 28, I believe. So the kids that work, the employees that work concession tend to be a little bit younger than some of the guards. They're sometimes as young as 14. So their hours that they can work. Oh, I'm so sorry. So the concession stand employees are younger, they work less hours, so we tend to have a little few more than we would for the guards because they can work longer hours.
Okay, so I just want to make sure for clarity's sake that.
Completely excluded from the calculation.
Correct. I mean, the pool pretty much loses money every year. It's a great borough asset. But that's another consideration to take is that there's more cost than just the manager and the
Absolutely.
guards.
Yes.
Okay,
More
thank you.
more than double.
Anyone else?
Stacy Roberts, 156 Arla Drive. Is the pool going to remain Green Tree residents only? Or are we outsourcing to the public?
We
I
are,
don't feel like that was addressed.
talking about, what do you mean by
Like,
residents?
is it
only?
residents only, or can anyone
That's-
pay for the day? And
We
come
are
to the
not
pool?
discussing, that is not even an issue here. We have to keep
Yeah.
it limited to the pool contract.
But if I may
It's not, I'll speak to, it's not, that part of the pool is not part of the pool contract. That is not something that they could set or even the management sets. That is an additional discussion that would happen here at council. And that is, we have not discussed that at all.
And how are you guys going to make up for the cost? If the borough is paying $17,000 more for a management company, where will that funds be allocated? In
So-
our taxes and the pool passes, and who's allowed in the pool?
It's fully budgeted. The budget accounted for this. In fact, it came in under what is actually programmed in the 2024 budget. And also, again, remember that 17,000 assumes full operation with 0 closures. Close the day to staff the lifeguards is $1,400 a day. So, there's going to be some adjustments to the bottom line, which I think are going to be to our favor. Like I know just in talking to some of the other communities, they have not received any overages in the past from this company. So I think that that's at least hopefully something that we can look forward to.
Yeah, that conversation about rates will come later. But at this point in time, it has not been discussed at all that we are looking to raise rates for our residents to use the pool. We understand that we are all strapped a little bit more for cash than we have in years past. We're all dealing with that. We're not looking to do that. And in fact, like Ms. Miller said, this actually comes well within what we had already budgeted for the pool this year.
I hope it's just important to note, like my kids go there, I feel very safe that it's Green Tree residents only. It's nice, it's controlled. And I would hate to see it go public or otherwise. And I think a lot of people would feel the same.
Point of reference, it is a public pool. It's just that residents have the right to buy memberships. But we still allow Green Tree residents to bring guests. So
Correct.
we're not a
Yeah.
private.
Yeah.
We need to know that.
Yeah, we do need to make that distinction. Yeah, because we do have people that last year and years past have bought passes at a much higher rate outside of our community.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Hi, Michelle Percheski. I live at 1165 Tranter, kind of going backwards. And I'm going to use an analogy because I'm a nurse and have managed. When somebody gets fired, retires, quits, moves, that job, whether it's a housekeeper, whether it's a nurse, whether it's a physician, that job is posted to the public, whether in-house, at the hospital or in the Post Gazette, we'll go back 20 years, and online, and people apply for that job. Before, then COVID came, and then we had to use an agency, nothing against you, but when you hire an outside firm to come in to supplement your staffing, they don't believe in the same quality as your people that are committed and hired, and that you vet yourself, and that you interview, and you review and have colleagues. Just to hire a nurse, we not only have the unit director, HR interview, but we have peers interview them. And so we know who we're hiring. So just taking it back that step, that this job was never posted. And I just have that concern because I work with bad agency people who aren't there for the right reasons. They're lazy. They aren't vested in the community and into the process. And those are just my thoughts because of what I see in my workforce. So just putting it there.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Carrie Miller, 1015 Dale Drive. So I just have a question. Typically, when you have a contract this size, you have multiple bids. Who else bid on this project besides them?
They are the only company in the area that provides these types of services.
So have you compared outside of our area to see what their price is compared to other areas?
I did not.
Are we going to?
I was not planning on it.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, Aldo R. Colati, 143 Sheldon Avenue, Pittsburgh, 15220. Some of you folks have already mentioned some of my concerns, so you're saving me on my time somewhat, but I'm going to expand on it. First of all, I'm a lifelong Green Tree resident, and I did work 2 seasons at the pool many years ago. So I have some concerns about this. First of all, I've lost count, but I don't think anyone has spoken in favor of this outsourcing plan yet. But I've been trying to prepare my remarks. But if we're keeping score, it doesn't seem like anybody's in favor of it so far. So I have a lot of concerns about this contract. I appreciate the opportunity that we have it now. We should have had this last week. And it's not included in that agenda. So there could be people here that don't have this contract. So I don't know if there's any, I don't know if this is proper, but you know, if people pass around copies of this in the room, if anybody wants to look at it before they speak. But anyways, I have a lot of concerns. First of all, I don't believe this contract is acceptable as written. I think it needs to have significant changes made to it. I have a lot of concerns. First of all, water aerobics has been mentioned from you folks up there, but there's nothing in here about water aerobics. It says group swim, it says swimming pool lessons, those kind of things, that should be included. It shouldn't be just some idle chatter. I understand a lifeguard needs to be involved in water aerobics, supervising the water aerobics. So it's not like something that doesn't require a lifeguard. So that needs to be spelled out in the contract. I'm sort of working from the little emissions up to the big emissions. I am also concerned about the lifeguard staffing. I know the plan, of course, is to hire lifeguards from before and lifeguards from the area. I believe that's being done to make us feel better about this. But I do believe there's a possibility that outside lifeguards from outside the community, and perhaps, who knows, even outside the state, and I'm not trying to disparage this company, but there is that provision in here which has been pointed out, talking about this Department of State. I don't know if these are, you know, HB1 visa people or who knows what they are. I don't mean to disparage those kind of people, but I think Pennsylvania residents and United States citizens should be working at our pool preferably. Going on to more serious matters. I would like to know if the borough is going to have any input into who is selected to be a lifeguard or a pool manager, or if those decisions, when I say pool manager, I mean a pool manager provided by these folks, whether the borough has any input in their hiring, if they participate in any way.
Your 3 minutes are up. You need to wrap up pretty soon.
Okay, thank you. Very important. There needs to be a section regarding the pool company's responsibility. This addresses in here, and I hate to bring this up, it addresses in here sex abuse, it also sexual harassment, and it also hints at child abuse and how we are responsible for letting them know about any particular child abuser we know that lives in the area, sex abuser, those kind of things. These kind of clearances need to be part of a background check. And they should have some responsibilities listed in this contract for those same kind of provisions that could mirror the provisions under the owner's responsibility. And I think, and I don't mean to disparage anybody that might be a parent, planning to apply to be a lifeguard, but I think everybody needs to be background checked and have all their clearances, including their pool managers. And I think to approve a contract that does not have those things in it is irresponsible and unacceptable. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry I went over time.
It's okay. I do want to just clarify that in order to work with children, like anyone under the age of 18 by state law in Pennsylvania is required. So that is a state law. And it doesn't matter. You have to have it. There's three different
Sure.
types of backgrounds.
I
that have
understand
to
that,
happen.
but if it's important enough for them to mention it in the contract, it should be important enough for us to mention it in the contract.
Yeah, we
I
have
think
to
the
do that
borough
all
needs
of
to
the time.
protect ourselves just to the same extent that they're protecting themselves. Sorry, I don't want to take up any more time.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Very well. Anyone else?
Andy Grab, 12 Terrace Drive. First off, thanks for coming out. Sorry you guys kind of got looped into some extracurricular stuff that didn't necessarily involve you, but just two quick points, really. First, and I don't speak for everybody here. I know I can speak for more than just myself. The contract that was discussed and brought up at the meeting last week, that unless I missed something, was going to be voted on, at least to push forward with reviewing the contract, not necessarily signing it, but looking into it, reviewing it. It seemed as though the vast majority of council, save one member, Dave, was prepared to just move forward almost with a rubber stamp and not really give it a ton of consideration. If that's the case, and that's what I interpreted it as, that's borderline embarrassing. I understand these are volunteer positions, save Ms. Miller. I get that everybody's time is limited. I'm a volunteer firefighter. I work a full-time job. I coach my kids in multiple sports. I understand the time crunch just as well as anybody else. But that to me seemed like a dereliction of duty. The only other point I had was if we knew in September, October, which I'm pretty sure we did, that the pool manager was no longer returning to that position, is there a specific reason why that job was not posted on the borough website for other people to apply prior to looking at a pool management company? And I suppose that question specifically for Ms. Miller as borough manager?
Yes, I did talk with multiple managers from other communities. I evaluated if I hire somebody in November, there's no guarantee they're showing up in April. There's no guarantee they're staying past June. So-
Correct.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So my decision is based on trying to get depth of coverage so that this pool has a completely uninterrupted season.
Sure, and I understand that.
I know multiple communities around us are hiring multiple managers and the candidate pool is shallow.
Am I missing something in the sense that, from my perspective, what I would have done to have multiple redundancies is post the job on the borough website, put feelers out there and explore a company? Am I missing something there?
But again, even if I found a qualified candidate in November, there's no guarantee they're going to be around come May.
There's no guarantee this company's gonna be in business either.
Does that then, I understand that the way the jobs are now, you get people that apply and they show up for an interview and you never hear from them again. I get all that. I work in an industry very similar to that. So I get it. That doesn't
Okay.
mean that we don't put that out there and try.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You are over your time limit.
Right, so we're just gonna sweep that. under the
Appreciate
rug.
it.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Phyllis Timberio, 70 School Street. And my question is, if we don't know the specificity of this contract, how can we vote on it? Or how can you vote on it, I guess is really what it comes down to. So can't we table this for another week till we get the contract where we want it? before you would vote on it. I don't understand why, this would be like you getting a contractor to come to your house, he says, I'll do this, 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 and you say, okay, yeah. But if you don't have this in specific language, like we want it, how can you vote a yes on it? I don't understand.
I'll just say that council votes to approve contracts month after month, and they never see the contracts. This is one of the first and only contracts I've ever sent to council. The
Okay, well then,
specifics of a
in
contract,
this
I'm just
case,
saying
though, I
that's-
think,
That's very, council does not look at the specifics. When we hired our engineer, they did not look at the specifics of the contract. When we spent $750,000 on a road paving program.
Excuse
they
me,
do not
I would
look at the
like to have some order.
I certainly understand that seems a little bit backwards. I get it. But the contract for road paving, it's this thick. And I think it's just the kind of the standard that is set in all communities that you authorize myself and Kate to work through the details, the professional engineers to work through the details. Again, I think the main things here was, we want our own people working at the pool. We want the hours. We don't want any changes to admission policies. We don't want any changes to admission pricing. None of that has anything to do with this contract. This is simply for the provision of guards and the certification of guards, the training of guards and all of that.
right, but there are other things in the contract that we do object to. And we want to make sure that there's either a codicil or something there before you would say yes to a company. And again, I mean, no offense to you, before you would say yes to a company, I would think we need to know the specifics. I don't think you can just say, okay, we'll do it. And then afterwards say, well, we wanted you to do this.
Yeah.
You're like, where's our guarantee?
Yeah, and again, I think operationally, the company, as any changes that we've asked for, there were a lot of revisions to this contract before it got here today. They would have happened either way. They've been 100% cooperative because, again, they're not looking to buck the Green Tree system. They're here, they want to work with us. I'm sure they'd love to be with Green Tree for the next 10, 20 years. They're not going to stay in business by making their clients angry and making this room full of people angry. They're in business to stay in business and to continue cooperative relationships. So, again, about the contract details, I think thankfully people have turned out, they've expressed concerns, and I don't see that any of those concerns would not be incorporated into this.
But are you taking a vote tonight or not?
Yes.
Can't we
that is
table
on
it
the
then
agenda.
until it is where we want it? That's what I'm
I
asking.
would not recommend that.
Well, thank you for
The
your,
difference between those contracts, or that most of those contracts, those sizable contracts are put out the bid. We put out a spec sheet, the contractors respond to the spec sheet, those bids are opened, and then we vote on usually the low bidder. We trust the borough manager then to administer that contract with the contractor who received the low bid or the contract that had been approved by council. This is different.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not different? How's it not different?
anybody else?
How is it not different?
Thank you. Anything else?
No,
Kinda
but
over your 3 minutes.
is there a reason you can't table it? Nobody's answering my question.
That's up to us.
Can we ask that you table it?
You can't.
We can or cannot?
You just did. Thank you.
Okay.
It certainly gives us insight on how we're gonna vote.
Good.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Oh, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Brianne Ferrier, Arlo Drive. I was a lifeguard for 3 years, not a Green Tree, but I did encounter some scary situations in my time as a lifeguard and as a young person. So my question is there going to be like a head lifeguard or someone like older there, that's, so it's not just like 15, 16-year-olds running a pool?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can I get your house number as well?
Oh, 126.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, John Koppler, 57 Rhodes Avenue.
I just want to clear something up. I thought I heard there was a statement there were going to be 5 lifeguards on duty. Oh, 7? Okay. So they go on shifts where 2 are off like they did in the
The
past.
rotation, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure
The
that's,
exact same staffing level as has been the established practice. in the
okay.
country.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Jessica Eberline, 171 Arla Drive. I understand that the decision is pretty much already made, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Do we have a deadline in which we have to meet to assure that if we need to use this outside management company, they will run our pool, or do we have time to try to find in-house? Or is that just you guys, your minds are made up? So like, it's early February. My question is, if we tabled this for 4 weeks to try to find somebody who would have the experience to be the manager for our pool, do you guys not accept contracts, say, March or April? Or is that too late?
So I'll just say that if we were to table this now,
Can you speak up?
I'm so sorry. If we would table this now, advertise for say a month. Now we're into mid-March. And if we don't find anybody, then I have to go back to them and then they have to start the search. And I think.
But they're fully sourced. They're fully staffed and they're fully sourced at the drop of a dime. At least that's what I'm taking.
Yeah.
So at that case, why not at least provide the community with some assurance that we are being heard or that we matter?
I would much rather have the company try to secure a management personnel, which would be probably 2, because again, during those peak weeks, we have 80 hours. They want to pull from the community. So if it's the community people we want, they're not against that. They are very much in favor of that.
Right, so I'm just not understanding why we can't come back in a month if they're fully staffed and they're the ones that are handling the managers. If we're the ones providing the lifeguards anyways, they're here, we have them, we know that they would want their jobs back. But why are we not trying at least? That's just, I know your minds are made up, I can already tell that. It's just really hard to be a member of the community who's lived here for over 10 years with children who attend the pool daily to not understand why we were not involved or included in any of this. And thank you, Dave Ray, for bringing it to the community's attention, because otherwise, I would say a large portion of us would have no idea about this. I'll just walk away, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just real quick about the delaying it.
Sure.
As far as delaying it another month, I'll tell you right now, that's late. We couldn't look for a manager starting in March, April, that's able and ready to go. The hard thing wouldn't be the issue, is finding the more experienced managers that to be able to handle the pool, to handle all the getting ready to go in a month and a half time frame.
And it all takes time, like getting the schedule set up, getting the lifeguard set up, making sure it just takes time in general. So the sooner we know, the more time that we have to make sure that we have the best possible staff for your.
You're saying that a more experienced candidate, but Baldwin and Brentwood, you don't need pool management experience, correct?
Okay, you still need some type of experience.
Managerial experience.
Right.
Okay.
And it's
Anybody have
all.
management experience out there?
Okay,
I do.
someone else? Thank you.
Mary Ann Walsh, 1079 Tomano Drive. I want to reiterate the feelings of the people here tonight that I'm very disappointed in the job that council and specifically borough manager has done. I also feel that it was a dereliction of duties to not advertise properly for a pool manager and assistant pool manager before making this decision. And like Dave said, typically contracts are put out for bid. This contract, okay, there's only one pool management company, so you could not put it out for a bid. But putting it out also to independently hire a pool manager and an assistant pool manager would have been similar to getting other bids and other avenues, like they said, exploring other avenues, other options. It seems to me that council just made up their mind, or borough management just made up their mind that this is the way that we're gonna go. And you're trying to ram this down the throats of the residents. It wouldn't have taken much time at all to have put out an advertisement, put it on the pool, on the borough website that we have in these openings. Instead, you've chose to waste people's time from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. All these people here to try to explain why it was okay for you to be lazy and just go with a pool management company. That's going to cost more money in the long run. And I'd like to know, and I really haven't heard who the buck will stop with once we do hire if and when, sounds like when, we'll hire this pool management company. Who will be responsible for oversight of this pool management company? And I'd like to caution you that whatever is in a contract is in a contract. Once a contract is signed, especially the attorneys sitting up there know that once a contract is signed, whatever is in the contract is in the contract. If you want to add anything else as far as duties, if you want to change anything, it's more money. And I heard it mentioned about there'd be money coming back at the end, maybe. I'm confused on that, because a contract for a flat fee is a contract for a flat fee. The other things I had was like, my understanding is that all this contract is for the personnel and management of the pool during the summer operating hours. Everything else would still be the borough taking care of getting the pool opening, taking care of maintenance at the pool, taking care of closing the pool. It would just be the operating months. And it wasn't clear to me who's buying the chemicals, where's that covered, who's doing the chemicals. So I think there's a lot, and
You could wrap it up your time as.
I will. I would ask that the borough advertise the positions for assistant pool manager and pool manager, at least give it a month, and then come back and make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dinah Caskey, 1019 Dale. We moved here 3 years ago. The Air Force gave us the lovely opportunity of living here in Green Tree. My husband's been in the Air Force a long time, and we're going to call Green Tree home probably for a long time. He's going to retire here. When we moved here, my son said, I want a swimming pool, a house with a swimming pool. And my husband said, I'm not cleaning a swimming pool, but we'll find a community that has a pool. We chose to buy here in Green Tree. One of the main reasons was because of the swimming pool. My son now works at the swimming pool, which is lovely. So that's why we're here. So we're parents of someone who works at the swimming pool, and we also utilize it as well. I have a question for you. And maybe it's in the contract, I didn't get to see it. If you all vote on this today and you say, yes, we're going to, and thank you for your presentation, by the way. If we choose to go with this company, or you all choose that, how long are we committing for? Is this a year-to-year thing? We could let it go next year if it doesn't work. That's my number. I see nods. Okay, great. And then the second thing is, I think a lot of us back here just have a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out. This seems like one option, and it feels like what I keep hearing over and over and over is we haven't looked at other options, or at least if you have, we don't know about those options. So I guess I'd like to ask maybe a little more transparency from you all as far as what's the process. Ben, how long have you known about it? Those questions have been asked, but I think that's what we're all struggling with. We're sort of struggling with, there's got to be more options than just one. Maybe in the end, we do find that this is the best option, but we haven't had the opportunity to see what we could be missing out on. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Jacob Smith, 146 West Manila. I was just curious, it seems like one of the biggest concerns was leveraging the vendor to supply or to be able to provide the management and have that security. The concern was, do we get somebody available? Will they still be available? What if they're not? If it's a flat rate, and a gentleman earlier mentioned SLAs, what's the plan if there's still an issue with the management? Do you work in credits back to the community, or so you still have to pay? Like, what's the, I guess, the backup plan if there's still problems with sourcing management or sourcing? Sounds like hopefully lifeguards wouldn't be a challenge, but how is that roped into a flat rate agreement?
It's a flat rate agreement, but there are credits due at the end of the year for staffing not provided.
Okay. And is everybody, it sounds like we're comfortable with that? As comfortable as we can be? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the next part of the agenda, which is new business and finance and general policy. Mr. Trosi.
I move that we authorize the borough manager to execute an agreement with American Pool Services Pittsburgh for the provision of pool management services for the year 2024.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any last discussion?
Yes, I have a discussion. I honestly, even though we had the solicitor give us her legal explanation of why we are not fitting this out, I still personally have a problem with that because, Kate, you pointed out in Malloy versus Boyerstown School Board that the Supreme Court decided it was okay to specialize services, but the Supreme Court pointed out as long they could be construction managers as long as they don't do any of the construction. And that was their decision from the Supreme Court in 1995. Now, as it was asked tonight, I personally asked, I said, are you just providing professional services or are you also providing work, maintenance, et cetera? And they said they were providing both. So that would be like in Boyer, the construction maintenance, the construction management actually doing actual construction also. From day one, when we knew there was a time to hire a manager, I mean, I mentioned 3 or 4 times, we should get on this right away and post this. I've been waiting for it to be posted for 3 or 4 months now, and it never was posted. But those are my 2 main issues. I really think this should go out to bid. Now, mind you, maybe we put it out to bid, we only have 1 bid. But, you know, in our charter, it says professional services or unique services. Well, the definition of a unique service is it's not provided by anyone else. This is not the only pool management company, which I've heard it said a couple times over the last 2 weeks. There are other pool management companies out there. Okay, so I have a problem with that. It's just, I just really think this should go out to bid.
Can I ask a few questions to Mr. Panza?
Yes.
One, Mr. Panza, you sit on my committee, the Parks and Parks Committee. You sit on it this year. At our last meeting that we had, and Judy updated us, the borough manager updated us that she was looking at this and was going to present something to us all. Not once did you make any of the comments that you said. In fact, there was no discussion about you wanting to see it being put out to bed or seeing it posted. Additionally, I know that Miss Miller has also, she always tries to keep the 3 committees that kind of, all of our work touches the pool, right? Mine's like, my committee kind of looks at like the pool facility itself. Then there's the rec committee, right? That oversees so much of what people enjoy about the pool. And then there's the finance committee, which definitely oversees the fees, the prices, the hiring of things. I know that she tried to talk to you and your rec committee, which I now sit on in 2024, but I did not sit on in 2023. Did you talk to her at any point in time about any of your concerns then? I bring this up because we do have committees. We do see information and we do talk about decisions. We do have the opportunity to talk with our borough manager about questions that we have or things that we want answered. I can't speak for everyone on this council and how they have their relationships and how they manage their committee, but I know with certain, I meet with our borough manager at least twice a month, at least twice. Most weeks we meet at least once a month to get updates on things that are happening. We meet as a committee at least once a month, when especially our committee doesn't have a set standing, right? It's based on when things are happening. We're meeting next week to discuss things that are coming up in the future. So I only say that because our community is asking for transparency, and they did vote on us to ask those questions. It is part of our job to ask those questions and to be involved before it comes here.
I've been asking for workshop meetings for the past 4 months. This would have been a perfect opportunity to have workshop meetings.
Also,
I'm sorry, Mr. Panda. And the day after the former pool manager was terminated, I suggested that we at least consider other pool managers. So I know that there was talk that I didn't say anything in these committees. The day after he was terminated, I sent this council an email with considerations for a pool manager, and I got no response. Not even, hey, let's talk about it. What happened was it went into the budget to pay for an outsource. Even during budgeting time, we never talked about, should we consider hiring a pool manager? We already have an assistant manager. We have an assistant manager that runs that pool when the former pool manager wasn't there. So we're only hiring a pool manager. We're going to pay somebody $40,000 to hire a pool manager.
One thing that was mentioned was, I'll bet you the minutes from last week are not even ready yet, correct? Okay, then you have to believe when I asked for this meeting this week, I was the one that asked for this meeting tonight. I asked because I wanted this to be a workshop meeting. I wanted questions asked by the audience. I wanted us to then answer their questions, and then we would think about all this and then maybe vote on this come March. I can't believe the new business is on this meeting. The intention of this meeting was to hear from our constituents of what their questions are, and then if we couldn't answer them tonight, get back and answer their questions, and then talk about this much more.
Mr. Panza, last week.
I'm just saying, that's what I'm just saying, that's what
I agree.
The intention of this meeting.
And last week, if you recall, I also made a motion, I think it was to amend the agenda to post the job.
Yes.
We would have had a week to gather resumes and have more detail, more information to make an informed decision tonight. This council voted against that.
Anybody else?
I just wish we would have had more discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to.
Can I speak?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I have talked to a lot of people in the community over the past week. I have a unique perspective. I have a child who works at the pool. I have a child who's on swim team, and my kids are at the pool all the time. They have friends who want to be lifeguards. They have friends who want to work at the pool. What I know as the concern is that everyone thinks that this decision was just made. Nobody wants to hear what the citizens have to say. That is not the truth. But what happens in the committee meetings, and I'm new to this, but I've sat in committee meetings, and these issues are brought to the committees and discussed. It is not that we are blindsided with the information, we're looking into it. And yes, there is the difference of an individual pool manager and hiring a pool company. But the difference is just who picks who sits in that office. And while, yes, we could say the borough is fully capable, sometimes we know people pick and hire individuals that seem perfect. And then they get into the position and it doesn't work. And what we're looking for is so that this summer, when we have now moved from a staff that had been in place for a very long period of time, regardless of why or how that changed, there will be change no matter what. If we go with an individual or we go with a company, it's not going to be the same. You're right. We cannot say it will be the same because it's not going to be all the same people. That's just the way it is changing. We have to move forward. We hear what you're saying. It is a 1-year trial if we decide to vote for this. It is not permanent. It is not a final decision. Anyone resident that wants to apply for a position in management has the option, if we go with this, to apply for a management position. That's not being taken away. The difference is who's posting it. The money is the issue. It's not $40,000.
How's money not the issue?
David, it's
Excuse me,
$17,000.
we are not here
It's
to,
$40,000.
that is.
It's not.
Please be quiet.
And what would it cost the residents if
David,
we have a
Please
manager
be quiet.
that comes in and cannot handle the responsibilities and leaves and the pool is closed? Will the residents be happy if the pool is closed? That is a question.
That's the exact question.
Please. Please, thank you.
We
Thank you
have,
very much.
I believe Judy has talked to all of the local municipalities about their pool situations in her research. We, as committees, were presented lots of information and research. We're not just going off a contract. We're not just going off Judy's 3 sentences. There's information that she has collected and created as a report, and we have hired her as the borough manager to do those things because, yes, council can't sit every day and read through every piece of information. I've talked to a lot of people. I feel like the fear is more about who's going to sit in that office at the pool every day than anything else. And quite honestly, if this hadn't come up and things had changed, would you have noticed if it was a different pool manager or not? It's a question. I don't know that I would have, except that my daughter gets her schedule from the pool manager. That's the only reason I know who the pool manager is. Not many people do. I just hope that whatever we decide, our kids have a great learning experience for work. Our residents have a safe place for their families to swim, and that the pool is maintained and kept, because we all know a pool renovation is coming. It's desperately needed. And what we want to do is make sure that we have things handled this summer for everyone to enjoy. That is my perspective. I know every individual on this council has their own perspective. There's no one perspective that's the same. Everyone has their own thoughts.
So there's no changing minds this late in the game, but I want to thank everybody for coming. Don't make this be your last meeting. No, seriously, every month, be here. Be here, please.
Come election time too.
Just a comment here. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not against self-serving statements, so this is a self-serving statement. I put too much time in reading things. We had the police collective bargaining agreement. I read through that, came up with 20 substantive changes, at least 30 typos, and the police bargaining agreement was 30-some pages. Comprehensive plan was 80 pages. I read all 80 pages. I was working with Cheryl Bacon. I had numerous substantive changes, numerous typos, and was working with her. She thanked me profusely for spending those hours. I've read this pool contract, the first version. If you noticed, I had comments last time, and I have ways to improve it now, but didn't want to get into the nitty-gritty right now. Point Park contract, we might go into a Point Park contract. So I've read that contract and had input. So I just didn't want to leave the perception that at least, I mean, everyone can speak for himself, but I do read things. I do spend hours. I pay attention. I think that the possible misstep is, I agree with Mr. Ray, we have to know what the hot button issues are. If we're going to discuss deer, when I first got elected, that was a hot button issue. There were twice as many people here when we were talking about shooting Bambi in our backyards for eating too much. This is a hot button issue, the swimming pool. So on hot button issues, we should be perceptive enough from the feedback and knowing the community to have a workshop and that before we vote on it. And I think then in the future, hopefully we push having the workshops ahead of time. And like I said, this might have been an excellent idea, outsourcing, but you have to go about it procedurally to have the workshop first. But anyhow, sorry, but I'm taking blame. I'm not putting the blame on anyone else. Maybe I should have pushed for that workshop. So my hands aren't clean. I'm not claiming they're clean, but I wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. At this point, I'm going to call for a vote. And yes, and I would like a roll call vote, please. So the motion has been brought forth and it has been seconded.
Mr. Trotsky,
No.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
No.
Mr. Ray,
No.
Mr. Romanovich,
No.
Ms. Schwartz,
No.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to, before we adjourn, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda.
I second.
Thank you. That motion,
You have to say what it is.
oh, yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to direct the borough manager to tomorrow post for a pool manager to be hired directly by the borough.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, that motion carries.
So that was just the motion.
That was just the motion to it.
Correct.
Sorry, these are just sunshine law requirements. That was just the motion to amend the agenda. I'm just saying that the actual motion should be made now.
Right. I'd like to make a motion that we direct the pool manager to post for, borough manager to post for a pool manager position tomorrow.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I want to know how this is going to be managed because obviously Ms. Miller is a strong advocate for outsourcing pool management. It wasn't even in consideration for the past however many months. I just want some peace of mind that there's going to be complete transparency through this process. And how are we going to ensure that there's transparency?
What are you looking for, like where it's going to be advertised?
No, I just want to know internally, do we put together an advisory committee that oversees the hiring of the pool manager?
Well, the public property is basically would be charged with that, I would believe.
I think it would be finance and general
Finance
policy.
in general.
Yeah.
So two of the members on the finance committee voted for pool management. So I think there was bias within that committee. And I would.
I'm the only
No,
one.
they didn't?
No, they didn't. You weren't paying attention.
Oh, I'm sorry, Art. Sorry.
David.
How condescending. You're so condescending.
Me?
So condescending.
David, by all means.
You are.
With all your comments.
You are. With my comments.
And I'm condescending.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I will advertise and I can keep council apprised of all applications that come in. And we'll go through no different than we would hire any other employee.
Do we set a deadline for applications when we post them?
Yes.
Just out of curiosity.
Yes.
And what would that deadline be for this position?
Well, considering we're advertising on February the 13th, I would think we would want to give it at a minimum of 3 weeks. So I would say the applications would become due that first week in March, interviews the following week, and then hire the week after. I'll expedite it. I don't want to be in a position that we don't have anybody to get started with the process.
Can I ask a question? When, which municipalities are looking for pool managers right now?
There's 18 that I know this from my being president of Avon. There, I put that out through Avon, which controls every community in Allegheny County.
There are 18 open pool
And
management positions
they
right
came
now.
back with, there's 18 open pool management
Okay,
positions. right
how
now.
many in our area, do you know
Not really. I know,
Judy, do
I
you
know
know that?
one.
I can think of 3.
I know that Scott is looking for a pool manager. I know that Mount Lebanon is looking for 2 pool managers. I know that Brentwood is looking for a pool manager. That's just here. I know Chartiers Country Club, Edgewood Club, and a couple other private clubs are all looking for pool managers.
And just point of preference, we would require any pool manager to have their
It must
pool
be
management
certified.
certification,
It
correct?
must be, yes, and yes.
If we're hiring an individual, that's absolutely
Certified.
required.
It is
Wait,
absolutely required.
so it wasn't gonna be required by the outsource
Because
company?
the company
They already have it.
people on their staff, but in order for an individual to have.
They are certified. That's why the individual pool
Yeah,
manager.
that's,
Yeah.
that's the
I'll
distinction.
do a better job paying attention. Mr. Schwartz, I apologize
Please.
that
Thank you very much.
and I'll do a better job paying attention, Mr. President. I suggest you do a better job paying attention to them.
Thank you for everything. And I will tell you this, that no matter what the vote is, we adhere to it. You don't always agree, and you don't have to get all upset if you don't win, excuse me, but whatever it is, we make sure that we abide by that. It's a vote, and whatever it is, that's what it is. There's no regrets. We don't go back. We don't have people that, just because they were for something else, they have hard feelings. When council decides to make a motion and it's approved, then therefore management and council backs that. That's how it always works.
No
Can't
hard
take all this
feelings at
stuff
all.
personally.
After this meeting's adjourned, Art, I'd go have a beer with you.
Oh,
You
gee.
can all come to my house.
Anything
I have
else?
lots
Is
of
anything
wine.
else? So there is no hard feelings. People get upset. Some people get over the top, some people don't. But the bottom line is, whatever we decide as a team and as a group. That's always the way it is. You can't have people going every which way. So tonight, that was the vote. So we move on with that vote. We go to the next opportunity. That's what it is. You can dislike people for whatever they vote for. They're entitled. The reason why we get elected is to make all these decisions. We do have lots of information that we review. We don't just casually just do this to try to, on our own. We do have a process where we all do this. We're hired, we're elected as your representatives. That's how it is. Not every single contract, every single thing you do gets brought up in intimate detail to the public. That way you wouldn't need anybody. You could just have a bunch of people just trying to make decisions. That's how it goes. It's always the way it is. And it was in process tonight. That's what it's about. So just to let you know, we always take everything into consideration. Some people had their minds made up in the audience of what was going to happen. Now you find out it's not necessarily true for everyone. So thank you very much. Thank you for. Ron, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes. Hold on a second.
No, we have to vote still.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't vote for the
So we
motion.
voted, did we have a second?
Yes, we did have a second.
Who seconded?
I second.
Yeah.
David seconded, okay.
No.
So the motion, make sure everybody's,
I thought we did an all in favor.
I thought we did all in favor too.
Yeah.
No, we did, the second one was the
Well,
second.
we can just do it again.
But we'll do it
Why don't we
again.
do it just for sake
That's
of-
fine,
Yeah.
we'll do it again.
Yeah.
So the motion is to, you want to reinstate the motion?
Sure, the motion was to direct the borough manager to post the vacant pool manager position tomorrow.
We had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? abstain. Okay,
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this.
thank you very much.